Hello everyone, welcome to You in Sports. Once a sports person, always is a sports person. In our series of podcast, we try to unfold any new journey, and in a similar way, we are bringing someone very special to unfold his journey. But before that, a very gentle request to all of you. If you would like to see more podcasts like this, please like, subscribe, and comment in a comment section. If you have any suggestions to us, please feel free to provide those suggestions. Having said that, let's go back to our podcast, today's podcast. So, today we have a very special person, Chala Motumba. He is a coach, basketball coach at this moment, but his journey as a basketball player and coach it's very fascinating. So please, Chala, thank you so much for coming on You in Sports podcast.
Thank you for having
Welcome,
me. Yeah,
welcome,
long time
man.
coming.
Yeah, and I always have a very good interactions with you,
Yeah,
either
likewise.
related to the sports or away from the sports. Uh,
Absolutely, I agree.
but I'm personally very excited uh, to have you here.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you
and
for having me.
before we go too deep about your journey, would you like to brief to our audience about you a very short brief?
Just like about who I am.
Yes.
Yeah. So my name is Chala Motuma. Yeah, I'm a basketball coach, and I know my background is from Ethiopia. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think that's all I can say for now.
That is a short and sweet.
Yeah, yeah. Keep it simple.
Yeah, uh, but maybe let's start with why basketball.
Yeah, so why basketball? Originally I started with soccer. So as I said, I'm from Ethiopia, which is East Africa. For those of us that don't know, so the first sport that I was playing was actually soccer, and then I moved to North America, like Canada, when I was 8 years old. Right, and shout out to my big brother. Like he started playing basketball, and then I just kind of followed him. Right, and then once I started playing basketball, I kind of just forgot about soccer, and I just kind of fell in love with the sport, right away. Yeah,
That's nice. So you really started playing basketball when you came to North America.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. When I was in Ethiopia, I didn't even know basketball existed. Right, all we knew about was soccer at the
That's
time.
right. That's
Yeah,
right. I think it's more of a continental. That's where the soccer
exactly.
is more
Yeah,
famous in that part.
absolutely.
But
Yeah,
then,
basketball is like even now it's very rare. Like there's still a lot of kids that don't know what it is, and it's funny because like nowadays, like once a year, I go back and then I actually train kids. I train. Like I kind of do a give back where I go to the community where I was brought up, and then I just do a basketball clinic for about a week. I bring shirts, I bring shoes, I bring all sorts of stuff, and then I just kind of give them the opportunity and
that's so nice of you.
introduce them, yeah,
That's
to the sport.
yeah, and I think community always plays a very very important role.
Big
And
time, yeah.
coaches like you, definitely they make so much difference
Yeah,
in the player's life.
absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree. Like, because I love kids, right? And like I always say, like they're the future, and so having like a hand in their growth and their success, being able to like influence them in a positive way, obviously. Yeah, man, it's a big honor. I don't
Yes,
take it for
yes.
granted.
No, and thank you. Thank you means I would say kids are more fortunate to have coaches like you.
All right,
Uh,
thank you. I
so
appreciate it.
uh, you came to North America, but you directly came to Canada, or
Yeah,
you?
actually, yeah, straight to Canada. I was in Ottawa. Like I lived in Ottawa majority of my life here. Like for about 10 years, I would say 10, 11 years. I was interested in Ottawa, city of Ottawa. Yeah,
So how was those initial days? Because obviously your brother started playing
yeah.
basketball and you followed
I
him.
followed them. Yeah.
But how was that initial part of years?
Yeah, so like when I was a kid, like this is why I appreciate the game so much. When I was a kid, I was very shy, right, and I was like awkward, like I didn't have the social aspect, right, and I was one of those like even like when it comes to eating lunch, like I would hide my food and I didn't want to talk to people. I was like introvert, right, but my brother was the opposite. He was like extrovert. He just loved everything. He would do dance. He would run. He did everything, right, and so for me, I'm grateful for the sport because like it kind of took me out of that, right, so growing up a shy kid, right, not being able to make many friends, like the sport really opened up that side of it, like where I started playing, right, and then I wasn't the best, but I caught on pretty fast, started getting good, and then I started making friends, and and even till today, like it's a big part of my life, obviously, like because like nowadays, like I'm able to like I have the confidence to like lead like sessions, like every weekend I would work with like I'm in front of 100 people, just coaching and teaching, right? And basketball played a big part of that for sure.
But then, new country, new people,
Yeah.
and I don't know how was the situation from financial perspective. So, was that a smooth journey, or there was really a challenges which you, both of you, need to overcome?
Oh man, yeah. Like the financial side of it was a big struggle, man. And like so, especially being new to country, having immigrated here. Like my father, he's not even like he didn't come on like a business term, or he wasn't like not even education. It was more like a refugee. So we're like definitely like close to poverty. Like we're not rich at all. Like we don't have wealth, and so a lot of the opportunities like that I would see my friends get and things like that I didn't have access to that because specifically because of like there was a financial strain. Like my dad, like even after a few years here, like he went to school and everything, but he wasn't really able to. Like, he graduated from like University of Carleton, but like, he wasn't able to get like a job. That's why he did like Uber and like yeah, man, it was definitely yeah, it was a struggle, but yeah, I mean like nowadays like we're okay. Like we still work hard and
I'm
still here.
happy. Means
Yeah.
obviously there is a, uh, yeah, that must be experience, man, which we
Yeah.
can just. But then again, how you manage to overcome uh, those sort of challenges for the sports? We will, yeah,
Yeah. Honestly, I think the resilience, like the perseverance, it comes from like having been brought up back home. Like, cause it's crazy because even though I was only 8, right, I was able to like understand like life, like not fully, but majority of it. Like I understood struggle, and so when I came here, us not having a lot of money, and you know what I mean, I wasn't like it sucked, right? It wasn't fun. It wasn't good, but it wasn't like crazy because I still remember like how it was back home. It wasn't as good as it is here, right? Because the struggle was even worse there. There's less opportunities, and so part of like being able to manage it was just like I can compare the two different lives that I have, like, and it was still better. It could have been worse. I understood that it could be worse, so it wasn't like yeah, it didn't really discourage me as much, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But then you started playing basketball, and there must be coaches who must have played an important
oh
part
yeah.
in your life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, so yeah, like I think two main people as far as like basketball realm in my life, like the two main people that I would, I'm grateful for is obviously my brother for kind of introducing me and kind of encouraging me to play. Uh, but as far as a coach, my high school coach, like his name is Bill Arden. I don't know if he's going to see this podcast, but if he does, I just want to say thank you because he was actually one of the coaches for University of Carleton, and like I don't know if you know that university, but they're like very like they have a really good standing, like a record of like basketball history. Like they've won many championships. I think they had the one of the longest winning streaks in Canadian basketball history.
Nice,
Like they're really
nice,
really good. Yeah,
nice.
and so I was actually fortunate to be coach. Not their head coach. He was not the head coach, but he was one of like one of the head coaches for University of Carleton. And yeah, like he was a like, he showed me what a coach is supposed to be, like a good example of a coach. Like whenever like even nowadays, like I try to like coach like he did. You know what I mean? Like because he instilled a lot of great values. You know what I mean? Not just basketball, but just life in general. You know what I mean? So yeah, Bill Arden is definitely one of those guys who played a big role in my life.
So he is a real mentor. It's not
Yeah,
like on the field, but off the field as well.
off the field, yeah, absolutely. Because he was my high school principal, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
he was a principal, and then he was also our coach. And
That's
so
better.
exactly, even like when I would have like trouble with like, like class and like or I had like sometimes I've had some unfortunate interactions with the teachers where I wasn't being treated fairly or they were being very harsh and like man, like he would step up. He actually stepped up, and I would never expect him to do that because you know what I mean. Because most people would, they wouldn't put their reputation or their career like on the line, but like he would do it for what's right. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
he sees something that's not right, he will step up, and I respect him for that. So
That's so nice of him.
yeah, man, it was awesome.
And do you want to narrate any story? There might be like you might be losing a focus and then bringing someone, or he helped him to bring that focus back in the game, or anything something like that.
Let's see. For me, it's like this is what kind of my journey was like. So I started playing, right, and obviously I love the game and I wanted to go to the next level. I wanted to play NBA, and like growing up, I would like research, like I would watch videos because like I said, we didn't have a lot of resources. My parents didn't have like the finance to put me into like rep teams and different programs, right? So I got to play on high school, which was awesome, and then in the community, right? But for me, because of the financial strain, like I had to at some point I realized I'm like, hey, like I have to get a job now, right? And so I couldn't really play and focus as much as I wanted to because now I was 14, right? It's grade 9. I started working like newspapers, my first job, and then just different like
Oh
being
man.
a dishwasher, like yeah, and then because I wanted to get out of Ottawa too, like I didn't want to stay there too long. If anybody knows Ottawa, it's a pretty boring city, but yeah, so um, because of that, like I kind of stopped playing, right, and then finally, like after I moved here, like I saved up enough money to move to Toronto to go to Humber College for sport management, right? That's a program I took because I love sports, right? So I'm like, yeah, I want to do this for the rest of my life. So I did that, and then so for those like 3 years, I didn't touch a basketball, right?
So you basically
Just
saved money
yeah,
just to get into college,
exactly,
and
yeah. Put myself through college, and then once I graduated, I'm like, hey, so like obviously I knew that I'm not gonna be like playing professional at all, right? And so, but I love the game so much. I want to be a part of it, and I'm like, what's one way where I can still be a part of this game, like as close as possible? And if you're not on the court, the next best thing is you're on the coach or you're coaching on the sideline.
exactly,
I'm like,
exactly, and
this is it.
that's where you cannot stay away from the game.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
wanted to be involved in whichever capacity,
Exactly.
and I think
Yeah.
coach is the best thing.
That was the next
Uh,
best thing. Yeah.
but will there be any regret that you wanted to go to NBA and you couldn't do that, whatever is the reason? But
Mhm.
yeah.
Man, like as far as regrets, like you know, I would say like because I said like I started to prioritize just working and saving to go to college. Maybe one thing I would like made like it's not a true regret because I believe like I did was the best I could do with the cards that I had. Right,
Mhm.
cards dealt for me. Like I did the best I can. But maybe I would say like one thing is like just if I pushed a little bit, maybe like another year or two, just maybe work part time and then stayed consistent with basketball. I think I could have definitely played like college and then from there who knows like overseas or professional because a lot of my friends like I have at least like 5, 10 friends I can name like that play professional now and like I grew up with them and they were not like better than me or anything. We are like almost the same, right? But the only difference is like their family was able to put them through this program and they didn't have to start working at such an early age and they were able to put more time in and then there you go, the opportunities present themselves. So the one thing I'll say is maybe just stuck to it a little bit longer. But man, overall, like I don't really have a regret because right now, like I love what I do. Like I love coaching. I love being able to impact young kids, the young generation. Pass on any wisdom that I've received so far, right? But yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I say.
I think you're trying to fulfill your dreams through them now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, in a way, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
which is good, which is good. But there were no sponsorship opportunities as such, um, because definitely, and that's one thing which really bothers me is like because of money there
Hmm.
are means there are so many kids, they have skills but they cannot take that to the
Hmm.
next level, and I think money plays such a important factor in that.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, absolutely. Like there was one. I mean, again, like I think knowledge is power, and like the fact that like possibly I didn't know of all the opportunities that could have been there for me. Right, I knew of one which was like Jumpstart, and I think they still goes on. Pretty much what they would do is if you were one of the low income household, which we were, and you could apply for Jumpstart, like through Canadian Tire, and they would kind of fund like your team, like a few $100, I think, for $300, and that, but you can only do it once, right? And so I had to put that towards a high school team, right? And so now a lot of the kids, like in order to really go somewhere like in this game, like you can't just play on high school. You have to be able to play high school, play a rep, right, and
Exactly,
go to
exactly.
tournaments and and travel. Obviously, like yeah, Jumpstart wasn't able to fund all of that. They would only just do one, and I just and then again, like we in my high school team, we won the city championships. Went to OPSA. We had a great group of kids, right? But we were all like from similar demographics, right? All like the majority of us were all immigrating, like from different parts of the world, and our household income was not that high, right?
I know, and
So
as you said that you are immigrant, right?
yeah,
So it was like starting from zero,
exactly, yeah,
and
absolutely,
but still, I'm happy that you kept love for the game
yeah,
and whatever you achieved.
no, for
And
sure,
again, it's not like end of the story.
no,
I think
no,
story just started, right?
exactly,
There are
yeah,
so many things which you will be achieving in a
oh,
game. Means
yeah,
the
absolutely, absolutely, yeah, and I look forward to all of that, man. Like you said, like for me, it's just the beginning because like I've only started coaching maybe 3 years now, and many of my peers like they've been coaching for 10, 20, 30 years, and so far yeah, like I'm loving it, and like I said earlier, like I'm already even able to give back in a way, right? Like uh, I mentioned, like I go back to my home, where I was born, right, the village I grew up in, and I'm able to give back in that way. So yeah,
no, it's really nice, and I think
absolutely.
that's where sharing brings so much joy, but at the same time, it's benefit others as well.
Oh yeah, big time.
And again, coming back to that point, any message which you want to give to a kids who might be in a similar situation
Hmm.
in which you were,
Yeah.
and any message which you want to give to them, I think that may change their path
Mm.
if they are struggling, and if they are thinking to give away
Hmm.
game. uh,
Yeah. Like, and yeah, for sure. Like, I'm sure, like, I'm not the only one that would have like my experience. I'm sure there's people that have experienced similar things in the past and experience it right now and will experience it in the future. And so, like, one thing I would say, right, like again, like, something I would do differently is um, I would just I would try to stick it out a little bit longer. You know what I mean? Obviously, you got to work hard. Like every coach will tell you, everybody will tell you, you got to work hard in life, and that's true. You have to work hard. Because yeah, if you put in work, like it's gonna show. Like it may not show, tomorrow, but eventually it's gonna show. And I think a lot of time kids would, I mean, just youth in general, like people look to the left and to the right, and they look to this guy and like, oh, he already has like some potentials. People are already talking to him. He's already gonna go somewhere. He's almost about to commit, right? And you have nothing. Like nobody's looking at you, and you start to like doubt yourself and lose confidence. And I would say that's one of the main mistakes that the youth kind of do a lot of the time. Is like you can't compare yourself to other people, right? Because everybody has like a different journey, a different path, and like if you stick to it, you'll succeed eventually. Yeah.
and that's where you rightly said that. And I heard Kobe Bryant mention something like this. When he started, he was not the greatest, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When he started, but then he identified basic skills, he worked on those, he repeated those, and that's how. And I
Exactly.
clearly, it's so amazing, and you rightly said that.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's just about putting in the work. You got to put in the work, and yeah, it will pay off for sure.
Yeah. uh, so then you did college,
Yeah.
and after that
Yeah, it was my college experience was unfortunate in a way because it was mid COVID, right? So
oh man.
yeah, mid
Okay.
COVID. So the first year we're on campus, in the last 2 years it was like kind of hybrid. We go on campus, and a lot of time was at home. But the reason I bring that up is because a lot of the co-op and internship opportunities that would have been available were like not available. So yeah, and after graduating, like I knew, like like, one thing, like if you love sports, like you have to understand is going into sports, you're not gonna make a lot of money in the beginning, right? This is one of those professions that it will take you, a decade, 2 decades to actually start yielding profit, like to make real money and be successful. So if you're gonna do it, like you have to make sure you love it, right? And so for me, that's the thing. Like I knew I wasn't gonna make much money, and I wasn't able to really secure like a high paying job because I graduated now what 2021, so it's been like 2 3 years now, right? So I at least thought like as soon as I graduated, I got into coaching, and for me that was good enough. Like as long as I can coach, I'm good with that. Yeah,
And you mentioned, means just for the audience, it is from the love of the sports you are doing coaching. Yeah,
absolutely.
you want to touch base on that? That
Yeah,
yeah, your week, how your week looks like, and how your weekend looks like.
yeah. So yeah, no, like this is I think it's good to be transparent because so right now, um, like I coach part time with like the Toronto Raptors, right? And then I also coach at a different organization called IVSA, which is how you and I got introduced. And so aside from coaching, coaching is usually all in the evenings, but aside from coaching every day, like Monday to Friday, I'll go 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. I have like a shipping and receiving job, right? And obviously that part of it is like I don't love that job, right? But I do it because you have to do what you got to do, right? And you have to make a living in a way. And because in the sports field you're not gonna make a lot of money in the beginning, you have to work like twice as hard, right? But eventually, right, it's gonna pay off. And the only way you're actually gonna make it is because if you love the game. If you don't love it, you're not gonna sacrifice all this right for it, right?
That's right.
So
That's right, and
you
that's
have
why
to make it.
we always say that once a sports person, always is a sports person.
Yeah, no,
You
absolutely.
you can take the uh, person out of sports, but cannot take the sports out of person.
No, no, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
But then, do you want to touch base on what might be your future plans
Yeah, yeah.
in the sports?
Yeah. Oh, big time. Yeah. Man, like we said, so for me, it's the beginning. I've only been doing this for about 3 years, and I can see myself doing it for the next 40 years, right? And so one thing what I want to mention is like, okay, so this brand right here, OSGA, like this is something I actually started, and this is where this is the through this foundation, right? I go back home every year to give back, and one thing I want to do, one of my goals is like I want to build basketball in Ethiopia, right? Because right now soccer is the main thing, but like this is ambitious, but like I want to be able to like eventually like 20 40 years down like have like a league that is actually like profitable that people can pay like get paid and it's professional like similar to like the CEVL like in Canada, a recent league that started. I want to be a part of that in Africa, right? And then also as far as my own personal coaching like career, like I want to coach FIBA like the Ethiopian FIBA team. I take them to the world championships, and so yeah, I want to coach at the highest level. You know?
Certainly, and I think we wish you best of luck for that. But
Yeah.
at the same time, anyone who is listening this podcast, any sponsors, any scouting agencies, if they want to tie up with Chala, please feel free to contact him. We will provide his details in the description section. But I think this is a good way. Sports is ambassador, right?
Mm-hmm.
So bringing basketball in Ethiopia, the way you are thinking,
Yeah.
we wish you a best of luck.
No,
And
thank you.
you're obviously we need to see the dreams first to fulfill those.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, for
But
sure.
then let's tell something about your parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely, they must have played a very important role in the game and everything, every at every stage.
Yeah. So like yeah, again, I want to be as transparent as possible. So my parents like they have like very old fashioned mentality, right? And so part of that is my father. Like again, I told you he came here as a refugee. It wasn't anything like it wasn't a good situation, right? And so his take on my pursuit of sports, like it was not ideal because he believes that education is the only way to get out, right? So he was always pushing me like, hey, academics first, academics, academics,
I
and
can
so
correlate to that. I'm
yeah,
from
right,
India,
yeah,
and always it's like first study,
yeah, that's
and then
100%,
secure something
yeah.
which is there, and then focus on the sports.
Exactly, and so because of that, right? Like the part of the reason I actually like, and again, like like he did my dad, like he did his best with his knowledge, right? And then how he was brought up, like I can't really blame him for anything like that. But a lot of the opportunities that I missed out on. It's not only the financial strain, but it's also the lack of belief, like in like sports in general. Like they didn't really, like they don't believe that you could be successful in sports, and it's just old thinking, right? But nowadays, like you kind of have to
It's
adapt, right?
changing. It's
Yeah.
changing
Oh, big time.
now.
Yeah.
I think parents wants to give that exposure to the kids, and
Yeah.
again, the number of opportunities which are available there.
Absolutely.
But again, don't you think that it is causing a confusion as well? Because opportunities are there, but then what about guidance?
Hmm.
Then I find that there are so many, but then there are very less who can guide to that path, and that's where I think the role of coaches
Yeah.
really becomes so
Exactly.
important.
Yeah.
Foundation, basics,
Hmm.
which we talk a lot,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Um, yeah. So obviously, like parents have a huge role to play in an athlete's life, but and the coaches as well, like a huge role, and they're very different. Like you said, as for a coach, like you got to be able to, yeah, provide guidance, right? Like especially like when there's opportunities, like in the sports field, like it's a closed industry, right? It's not open to the public. So if you're in it, like first of all, it's going to be hard to get into it. You have to know people, but even once you're in, you still have to kind of like network a lot to kind of find the opportunities. And I think as a good coach, that's what you got to do because then you're able to guide your players in the right direction. And like for parents, like I think it's so important to always support, right? Because for me, like I think that's one thing that I also like that I lacked is like I didn't really have much support from my parents, just because they just didn't believe in that the sports could yield a
Change.
good life. Yeah. Um, and so that's what I would say. Like, yeah, you definitely just support your kids in every capacity, right? Uh, and yeah. I mean, did I answer your question? I don't know.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely,
yeah.
definitely. But how about brother? I think he
Brother.
played a very important role
Yeah,
in your life,
big
right?
time. Yeah, yeah. My brother, like I said, he live Oliad Motuma. So if he sees this podcast, then
Maybe you can say something which you haven't said till now to him through this podcast.
honestly, yeah, I don't think I ever told him like, I like every success I have in basketball is because of him, right? Because I started because he played, right? And if he didn't get into the sport, I would not even be doing this podcast today. So it's crazy, but yeah, he was a great role model growing up, right? Looking up to him and even like I said, not even basketball itself, but just the amount that you get, like that I've received through basketball, like again, like the confidence, like just being able to even talk to people. Like I was never able to do that when I was younger. So like, and that's a huge part of life. Like you got to be able to communicate. You gotta have some confidence just to be successful in general. Not only basketball, just in life. Yeah,
Any sports, yeah.
yeah, and so that's another reason that why, like it's really important that parents always encourage their kids to be a part of a program, sporting program, right? And just to be active in general, like it's huge, it's huge. And
Right.
nowadays, like the good thing is we have those education. Like people are more educated. Like back then, like this wasn't readily available. Like my father definitely didn't know about like all the benefits that come with being active and being a part of a team. He definitely didn't know, right?
Right, but I think there is other disadvantages that the competition is there, and then the parents start comparing, and then adding that additional pressure on the kids. So, what would you like to say to them as a coach?
Coach. So no, that's huge what you said, and like like this game, especially basketball, like I feel like it changed, like it changes so often. You know what I mean? It changes. This is because from when I was playing, when I was growing up, to now, completely different. Especially like when we talk about competition, like nowadays, like you have kids that they start training when they're 5 years old. Right? Back when I was growing up, kids did not start playing basketball. They were just shooting around, like maybe even until 10, even 14. Like they really started getting into it, a little bit older. So the competition, the level, obviously, like is increased a lot, right? And but the good thing is also on the flip side, yes, there's more competition, but there's also more opportunities.
That's right.
Like before, you could only like go to few schools and maybe overseas and the NBA. Like that's it, right? But now like you have like professional leagues in Asia. You have professional league here in Canada. You have
Right.
in Africa. Like there's so much more
So you're not
opportunity.
only dependent on NBA, but there are
Exactly.
other leagues which
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
So like, again, like we talk about like comparing, right? Comparisons, like it's they say like the killer of all joy, right? And when you start comparing yourself to other people, like you're gonna start, losing the love that you have for the game. And
That's right.
once you do that, then it's just downhill from there, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. Agree,
yeah,
agree. You need to enjoy whatever you are doing.
absolutely, yeah. If you don't love it, then yeah, you're not gonna succeed. Right? You're not gonna do your best. That's
And
what I see.
how about communities? What role communities really played in your journey?
For me, yeah, yeah, that's actually a huge one. Like, so like I didn't have support from my parents, but I did have support from my community. Like my friend groups, like yeah, like we mentioned, like growing up, I wasn't able to make much friends. So a lot of the friends that I have today were through basketball, right? And so I had like the basketball community, like in Ottawa, for example, like there's a place called Michelle Heights, and they used to do. They still do it. It's called Midnight Basketball. It's pretty much a program that is there for kids that are or youth that are in the just to keep them out of trouble in the nighttime. So it goes from like 12 or 10 p.m. to like 2 a.m. So because where I'm from, is a very like the area. It's like kind of run down a little bit, right? It's not like one of those, how would I put it? Like high end, or it's very like
Yeah,
low maintenance. You know what I mean? Like so you see a lot of shootings, like drugs, like you know what I mean. It's one of those areas, and so having that program, we have like a little like 5 minutes from where I live. You just walk down and there's a gym, and so a lot of the kids that will be out roaming at nighttime, they'll come and they'll play basketball, and that's how we spend our night. And I think, yeah, man, that was huge for me because I wasn't able to be a part of different like club teams and this and that. I had that right, playing in my community,
right,
right? So
right,
competing every
right.
night. It was actually just Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or just Saturday, Sunday. Sorry. Um, yeah, and so the community is huge. It was huge for me.
And
So
that is one thing which I noticed, and maybe you can correct me. But here in North America, I think, especially in the sports, communities plays such an important role.
mm,
The kind of opportunities they open up,
yeah,
and even if someone is not financially strong, at
hmm
least giving them that initial setup,
yeah,
giving that access, exploring that sports, love the sports and all that. I
hmm
think they are really doing very good job here.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And again, like it's I don't know if every community is like that, right? Like, but at least with my experience, like though, growing up, it was perfect because as far as opportunities, like we traveled a little bit. Well, not away, but like just we traveled to different communities and we played against different kids from different areas, right?
Right, right.
And like even like as far as doing like filling out like applications for like say like grants or sponsorships, things like that, and they're there to support. And I think that's one thing that we got to continue to do because yeah, it's extremely helpful and
Agree, agree.
it's good.
That's right. And I think bringing little bit more sponsorships from
Hmm
the
More
vendor
opportunities,
around
yeah,
the businesses, right?
yeah,
Not like everyone cannot get a sponsorship from
of
Nike and
course,
Adidas and all that,
of
but at
course.
least opening up these local sponsorships.
Yeah. No, like if there's one thing that like in this industry that that we could improve on, like you said, like I mentioned Jumpstart. I'm honestly I'm not aware of many other organizations that do that for kids, but like if we could either even the government or organization, if we can create something that's there to fund the low income, I think that would be a game changer.
I think so. Yeah,
Like
I totally agree to that. I
yeah,
think that would be a game changer,
yeah.
and maybe it would start happening.
hmm
I think it
Hopefully.
would start
I
happening.
hope so, yeah. Because like again, it's not only me like that lost opportunity, right? Like even like some of my best friends today, like we talk how like had we had like more opportunities, like we would play playing pro,
And
like
that's
for
that's what
sure.
I think, it's as I said, it's more of a networking,
Hmm
knowing those things.
Yeah,
Those might be there, but it's just that right now the visibility is less,
yeah.
and networking and collaboration will certainly open those options to these young athletes.
No, for sure. And I know that's part of. I love what you guys stand for, how you guys are trying to bring everybody together, and then just shine some light on some opportunities that might be missed, right? And yeah, this is really cool to see
Yeah,
that.
thank you, I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
absolutely.
And coming from uh, coaches like you who already played the game and still involved in the game and saw that journey, and then coming that sort of statement from your side,
Mm.
it's a huge it makes a huge difference for us,
No.
and it basically gives us that no, we are on a right path, whatever
Yeah.
we are doing. As
No.
you said, this is
Absolutely.
the initial struggle,
Yeah.
but certainly we have a good heart. We wanted to do something which should change the lives of these players who
Mhm.
has skills
Yeah.
but they don't have a medium, and how they can come forward,
Yeah.
bring that visibility to them. So that's what we're
Exactly.
doing.
Yeah, man. No, very much needed.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But now, coming back to, obviously, game is one part, but how about uh, mental strength? Or obviously, depression is something which is real.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
you want to bring any focus on that?
Yeah, I mean, like for me again, like I'm very fortunate in this realm because like depression, like for me was it was never really something I believed in, right? Even like, and maybe that's a good thing, right?
It is a personality, right?
Yeah. Like again, like growing up in like Ethiopia, like there's so many struggles, man, and like so it's
So
hard, like
depression is always away from all that because you don't
yeah,
have a time to think
you
about
don't
it.
even have time to be you don't have time to be depressed, man. Like you're just worried about just making it through the day. You know what I mean?
Right,
And
right.
so like for that reason, I'm fortunate where mentally I was always strong. You know what I mean? Because early on, like I kind of understood what life is like. Life is not easy. I understood that early on, and so whenever obstacles and challenges, that whenever I face those in life, like it was, I would say it was a lot easier for me to deal with it because I understood how much how
Life is not easy.
yeah,
We
life's
have to.
not easy, but like how fortunate I am. Like for example, like just the little things that you take for granted. Like so, I mentioned like I go back to my home country every year, and even until today, like you would go and the little things you take for granted, just having like a hot shower, like they don't have that, right? And even like restrooms that are readily available like around the city, like they don't have that, right? There's the little things, and
You rightly said that. Actually, life
yeah,
is such a simple thing,
yeah,
and
it's
it
small
is made up
things,
of these small things which are really matters. This
yeah.
gives a joy, satisfaction.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like for me, like I never had to like mental like depression or anything like that. Like I never really faced that, and obviously I understand it's a real problem though, because like I see it here, like it's a real issue. Like it actually affects people, and a lot of people, like they go down a really dark path, and that's something that you can't. We have to like acknowledge that we can't just say it's not real. It
Right,
exists,
right.
right? And it actually impacts people's lives. So and I think sports is actually like a great way to deal with it. Like being active, being just having to interact with other kids, right? Because we're social creatures. That's what they say. And so I think it's really helpful, right, for that reason. And again, like nowadays we have these like education, like even school, like they teach this, right? And so it's not something that is not known, like or is not readily available. It is available, and so yeah, I think yeah, sports are a big part of that. It's good.
No, certainly, and that's where uh, I will request all the parents that put their kids in any sports
Yeah,
and let them love it. It's not like don't force them.
yeah,
If they like it,
that's
just
big.
let
Yeah,
them enjoy that,
yeah.
and it brings that focus in them. It brings, as you said, friends,
Hmm.
networking,
Yeah,
bringing that personality out.
absolutely. Yeah, like it's funny because like there's some kids like who are in my situation who would just kill to be on a sports team and do anything to be a part of that. And then like you said, some parents where they push them too much, and then now they the kids end up not loving it.
Exactly,
Like you
exactly.
hear in the states how like kids will like they will tear the ACL, and like these are like injuries that you would have when you become pro, not when you're like young. But like you hear stories how the kids they're on the court 6 days a week, like just training because their parents want them to go to NBA. So there's extremes, right? On one
Yeah,
side you
exactly,
have someone that
exactly.
doesn't really want to be a part of it but is forced to, and then on the other side someone that really wants to be a part of it but doesn't have the opportunity. And so it's that's just
Yeah,
life. That's life, right?
that's life. That's
Yeah.
life. But I I wish things would change and there would be like not only opportunities but the path to the kids who has skills,
Yeah.
and then we should not be losing those because those are precious.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I agree.
Uh, Before we close, anything which you want to say to anyone by this medium which you haven't said till now?
Uh, what can I say? I mean, just closing remarks. Um, obviously, I want to thank, like my high school basketball coach. Thank my brother, for you know, yeah, being a part of my, basketball journey. I would say for all the parents, like we mentioned, just do your best to put your kids out there into a sports team. Encourage them, but obviously don't push it on them, right? Uh, and for like as far as like other organizations who are capable to try to fund uh, the low income, right? Because I think a lot of great potential players, like if they have opportunity, like they'll be found there. Like a lot of the greatest players could be the greatest players. They're there, but they can't make it because they don't have the financial capability or whatever. So if there's any organization that's capable of providing that, I would say that would be good. We should do it.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah,
And
just
yeah, I think it will, or it is always already happening, but we are just not knowing that. But I
mhm.
think it would happen. It would
Yeah,
happen a lot in the future.
I hope so. Yeah,
Pechala, I want to wish you a best of luck for your academy
yeah.
and a great success,
Thank you.
and definitely to your coach journey as well.
Yeah,
I'm sure you would be one of the best coach.
hey, thank you.
And yeah,
In a few years we gotta do this interview again, and then we have to recap.
we will do that.
We'll recap and
That's
see
for sure.
how far we went. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
Thank you for
yes.
having me, man.
But
Appreciate it.
thank you so much, man.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for coming here, and
Likewise.
I
Yeah,
really appreciate that.
absolutely.
So that was Chala for all of you, and thank you to our audience for staying for our podcast. And once again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, like, and comment, and stay tuned for few more journeys which we are going to unfold through this podcast. You in sports. Once a sports person, always is a sports person. Thank you.